Commission meeting to order. Could the clerk please read the roll?
Mr. Badger.
Here.
Mr. Halter.
Here.
Mr. Prahl.
Here.
Mr. Volnick.
Here.
Councilman Hellinger.
Here.
Vice Chairman Manzoris.
Here.
Chairman Simpson.
Here. All right, item number 2, the approval of the motion summary of the Planning Commission meeting held on September 6th, 2017. What is the wish of the commission?
Make a motion, we approve the summary of the Planning Commission meeting held on September 6, 2017, as recorded and transcribed.
Motion by Mr. Halter,
Second.
second by Councilman Hellinger.
Mr. Badger.
Yes.
Mr. Halter.
Yes.
Mr. Prahl.
Yes.
Mr. Volnick.
Yes.
Councilman Hellinger.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Manzoris.
Yes.
Chairman Simpson.
Yes. Moving on to item number 3 on the agenda, regular business. Could the clerk please read item A 1 through 3 into the record, please?
Item 8, Fire Station 304, number 1, 2017-2359. A request by the City of Delaware for approval of a rezoning amendment for Fire Station 304 on 4.102 acres to A1 Agricultural District and located at the northwest corner of Cheshire Road and Glen Parkway. Item 2, 2017-2360, a request by the City of Delaware for approval of a conditional use permit for Fire Station 304 on 4.102 acres zoned A1 Agricultural District and located at the northwest corner of Cheshire Road and Glen Parkway. And item 3, 2017-2361, a request by the City of Delaware for approval of a combined preliminary and final development plan for Fire Station 304 on 4.102 acres zoned A1 Agricultural District and located on the northwest corner of Cheshire Road and Glen Parkway.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, I'll start this one off. I just say it's been a long time coming. And we're glad to be here this evening in front of you with this fire station. And in the interest of everybody's time, if you'd like us to dispense with everything and probably Mr. Prahl just make a motion for approval, we'd be happy to just entertain that and save everybody some time because I know you guys want to move forward. I'm kind of not joking.
I'll second that.
I know John will second, third, and fourth that. But appreciate Chief Donahue, Jerry Warner on my staff, Jackie Walker, who's the assistant city manager, is not here tonight, who have been shepherding the project through. Appreciate all the team that have been working on this. I think in my judgment, in the 12 years I've been here, this has been the best, most coordinated, consolidated effort of staff on any municipal facility, and I think it shows in the quality of the application before you. So I really appreciate, I thank applicants when they do a good job. You're the applicant tonight, and I thank you for that, guys, even though you're my teammates too, so appreciate that.
And we thank you as well. And it's hard to believe about 5 years ago, we were sitting in the same seat in using these same building plans to move forward with Station 303. And it was our desire that that was going to be the model, and it is the model. A couple modifications as far as look, but ultimately I think this is going to be a great looking facility, and more importantly it's going to be a functional facility to serve our citizens down in the southwest or southeast quadrant.
Yeah.
The other great thing is that they talked a little bit about team. We have the same team that built Station 303, and from our architect to our construction company too. So I think that bodes well. I think everybody's been happy with that station out there, and I think that just, as I said, bodes well with the quality of the project that we'll be moving forward with Station 304. So with that.
Appreciate that, John. Lance, you want to walk us through this a little bit, please?
Yes, I can. Like I said, the site's located northwest corner of Glen Parkway, Cheshire Road. Zoned A1, it's actually 4 parcels. The westernmost 2 parcels were annexed into the city this year. And the easternmost 2 parcels came into the city when Glen Parkway was widened or constructed out there. Per our zoning code, any parcels that are annexed into the city are automatically zoned A1. However, we believe it's prudent to formalize the A1 rezoning. So we have a public hearing tonight to ensure consistency and defensibility if needed. This is the aerial of the site. As you can see, there's 4 parcels there. This aerial shows a house that hasn't been raised since this area was taken. You notice that there's a lot of trees in the northwest portion of the site. The majority of those will be saved, preserved with the proposed site plan. The comprehensive plan in this area identifies this as very low density single family area. And that's the reason we decided to rezone it or keep it at A1 and rezone it to A1 was that A1 requires very low density use. And with the conditional use approval, that's what a fire station is in a residential district. If it meets all the requirements, then we believe it meets the 2 requirements. So we believe this would be compatible with the city comprehensive plan. From a zoning perspective, the combined preliminary plan, the rezoning, and the conditional use approval would need planning commission approval and city council approval. From an engineering perspective, our engineers are reviewing the engineering plans as we speak. This is a site plan of the proposed site. As you can see, there's 2 access points. There's a full movement access curb cut on Cheshire Road that accesses the parking lot that's located in front of the building, adjacent to the roundabout, and also accesses the vehicle bays in a escape lane to Glen Parkway to get around the facility. There's also a full access curb cut on Glen Parkway, and they cut the medium Glen Parkway where you can get out. You can go north and south at that point. That's going to be dedicated for fire vehicles and personnel only. Will not be for the public to access that curb cut.
We asked the fire chief whether he was satisfied with the access, the 2-way access to the site. He said, yeah. So
Correct.
So
you're good.
Yes.
the pedestrian connectivity, the recently adopted bicycle and pedestrian plan does not identify a bike path or a light through this site. However, along Cheshire Road and Glen Parkway, sidewalks will be extended to the eastern and northern property lines respectively. The sidewalk to the north would connect with the subdivision to the north in that area. As you can see, the configuration of the site, the building, which is in yellow, it's about a 45-degree angle in front of the roundabout. The parking lot's out in front. There's a retention pond to the north of the site, and the trees and the area outlined in green, that's what's actually going to be preserved on the site, which they preserved the majority of the northwestern portion of the site, which gives a good buffer to the subdivision to the north and the single-family home to the west of this area. Tree removal and replacement, as I indicated, they preserved, I think it's 49 trees and over 816 caliper inches of trees, which is a lot. However, to build this, they do have to remove some trees. They're removing 99 caliper inches of trees, and they're actually installing along the western property line adjacent to the single-family house 25 8-foot tall pine trees, which would yield 100 caliper inches. So we're trading out even for even as it comes for replacement. This is the landscaping plan. As I indicated, there's trees adjacent to the western house to the west. There's also 2 street trees required along Cheshire Road. There are existing street trees along Glen Parkway. Front yard trees, they have to install 15 trees to ensure good view lines into the site. They requested that they be pushed back. They're going to be located around the retention pond and just west of the building in that area. And also there's going to be foundation landscaping and the required shrubs buffering the parking lot from the street. There will be a ground sign adjacent to the roundabout. We have our typical limestone base, about 6 feet high, 38 square foot of sign. That's our typical Delaware blue sign. It complies with the city's branding and wayfinding plans and regulations There'll also be a sign on the front of the building, the east elevation, front and the roundabout. Lighting plan, they're proposing 7 light poles and 8 wall packs that will illuminate the site. It complies with our minimum illumination standards for the site. Conditional use, there's 2 conditional use requirements for public safety and service facilities, and we believe it meets both of those conditions. And this is the elevation. As John indicated, it's pretty similar to the Fire Station 303. The top left elevation, which is the east elevation, is what will front the parking lot and the roundabout. That's the main entrance to the facility, just in front of the parking lot. Some of the highlights of the design is that there's a limestone wainscoting along the entire building, around the entire building. The majority of the walls are brick walls with some limestone walls. There, as you can see, there's asphalt shingles, pitched roof asphalt shingles, and there'll be a cupola on rounding out the elevation.
Just a note on the limestone, you can see the
Right.
piece in front of you. This is actually not going to be face limestone, or what we call cultured limestone, that you have before you in a lot of our applications. This is actually going to be the real thing. So,
Staff recommend approval to rezoning with no conditions, the conditional use permit with no conditions, and the combined preliminary and final development plan with 9 conditions. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Chief, I don't know if you have, as the applicant, anything to add to that.
No, I think if you look at this is going to be a darn good looking building. It's going to really fit into the culture and the aesthetics of our southeast quadrant. We're excited. I know you've voiced concerns. They've come to me after several planning commission meetings asking when. I couldn't get down there. I wanted to start construction right after we completed 303. Unfortunately, money, time, and so forth coming in from the levy has finally allowed us the opportunity to do this. So we want to get on this, proceed with this construction. This will be staffed with 3 personnel at all times. Been going back, if we're going to have a paramedic unit in there, and the reason why I say that, we'll have paramedics there. It'll be a paramedic engine. But what I am concerned about is because this is so far south out of the city, I'm almost hesitant to put a paramedic unit, because if they end up making the medic run, that leaves that area unprotected while they transport that patient to the hospital. So what I'm looking at is having our paramedic unit get there, having the paramedic or the engine get there, stabilize. They can do everything that the transport ambulance can do other than just transport. So what will happen is the paramedic transport would come from a different location, pick up the patient, but the guys would still be there in that area. So that's what we're focusing. The reason why we're doing that as well is really to maximize our protection in the southeast quadrant. This is our architect, Joe, with Mo Weithman. We have Kyle here from KLMH, our engineering firm, and of course, Jerry Warner, our chief building official, overseeing our project.
I think Lance hit all the high spots.
Yeah.
I don't have anything.
I was hoping Tracy and John Sabo would be here as well. I know we posted, they're our neighbors to the west of this project. We've been working since the day we purchased this property. I told them, as we told our neighbors up in the south northwest quadrant, get my quadrants confused, that we were going to be good neighbors. So we've included in them in this project. Certainly the trees that you see there is to provide that additional buffer from their property. They've been great to work with, and we really appreciate them. And I was hoping they would be here as well. But I think that bodes well our relationship that they're not here at this point in time. They have the full confidence of the team we have here in the city. And we'll certainly continue to work with them and make sure their concerns and questions are addressed.
We're happy to answer any questions about it.
Can you explain the part about potentially putting in ground-mounted solar panels, where those would be, and I'm much, for solar as anyone, except, that area, wouldn't seem like a fit for solar activity in that front area. Downward. If you put it on top of a roof building,
Yeah.
With the right facing, I could see that, but it just didn't seem.
Yeah, I hear you, Commissioner. We have had a lot of internal debate on this. Well, it's not concluded yet. You'll see in your packet, there is a diagram that shows you where it could potentially go. There's costs, there's still decisions to make. Obviously, take any thoughts that you all may have in that regard on the city council and project team. First and foremost, we're trying to build a fire station here. I think we all recognize that. But we do see some complications, sort of what you say as well. We can't really put them on the roof pitches of this building because there's a lot of roof pitches on this building. And generally, solar panels need a nice either flat roof or a consistent pitch kind of to the south. Just don't have that here, and I think the design of the building is super high quality and really just doesn't lend itself to that. In the meantime, Lance can kind of circle on there where we're talking about is if you're trying to save the trees and get the stormwater in, that is about the only location other than the front yard.
Right.
To be able, I think just aesthetically, it doesn't make any sense for sort of the reasons you said to put them. So that's about the only location to do it, and it may prove to be problematic anyway. I think probably between that and the cost, it's going to be difficult on this. I don't, Chief or Jerry, I don't know. Jerry's done a lot of research on
And
this.
4 acres is, that's not a ton of room.
It's not a ton of
Start a field of any sort type of thing.
Yeah. If anything, it'll just be
Tight spot.
contained in that area. And obviously, you don't want to landscape solar panels or trying to get the, you defeat the purpose. You'll see them if they're there.
And Matt can actually chime in with a little bit, but I think even with that location, that poses the potential that we may have to enlarge the retention pond.
Yeah, that area is already spoken for from a detention standpoint. It's not a wet pond, it's a dry depression, dry basin that supplements the wet pond. So,
Now, can you engineer anything and
Yes.
anything? Yes, you can with enough time and money, but that's part of the reason why I made the statement I just did.
And one of the things, we were not looking at it feeding the fire station either, because then we have to make some enlargements of the building, the electrical room and so forth. It was going to be put back to the grid. So there may be some other options that we have to look at and consider.
Commissioner, I'm completely with you. We talk about the windmill a lot, and I was a proponent of that at the Toyota dealership, and where we can get solar, and we've provided for those opportunities. Cheshire Island being one, I don't think they've done it yet, but we provided that in the plan and on that building. But that building was designed in a way to be able to accommodate that, and obviously it's on US 23. We're trying to be efficient with tax dollars, and therefore not, the idea, as John said before, was to take through, if there's a very high quality station in sight, and apply it to this area with some adaptations that are appropriate for this area and fit the design of this area as well, which I think we've done. So solar is not necessarily going to happen, but we're just allowing for the provision of it and still studying it. It's pretty costly as well.
And the trees on the west line there against the stable, are those going to be in a mound situation, or are those just flat plants?
You want me to answer that? Actually, we looked at that. We have our engineers here that can talk a little bit about it. There's not going to be mounding. Originally, that was the initial thought in discussing with the Sabos. But because of there's some wet property in through there. What we did not want to do was create an adverse condition. So no, we're not making any modifications or mounding. That we're just going to install the trees there.
The only thing you can see on the aerial is that there is a tree line under the red line here on our property that we're preserving, but also on the Sabos property. So it's just sort of that layered landscaping approach that this would there today, but this would provide obviously a distinct evergreen buffer. So they're going in at 8 feet tall rather than a traditional 6 feet tall.
And that was something that the SABOs asked us in the meeting that Chief and
Correct.
us engineers had.
Yep.
One thing I noticed was some of the scale that you describe, and particularly the square footage of the sign and the height. I'm a bit superstitious, but could the height of the sign be anything but 6.66? They're like 6.65, 6.67 maybe. You know, I mean, it is a fire station. So, just something to consider. So next time these plans come out, this information, it could be other than 6.6.
That's pretty good, Commissioner. I'm gonna have to ask Brad how things are going at the water plant where we have one. So maybe they put an extra inch in there or something.
There's no question, it's a really, really good looking building, and it's gonna fit right in and enhance that area. So kudos to you guys.
I had one possible concern, it may not be one, Matt, you might have some thought on this, is the two trees on Cheshire in the lawn strip. Whether the height of the cabs of the equipment's going to be such that there might be some sight problems, people coming off the cul-de-sac or the roundabout. Could they be moved on the other side of the sidewalk or a little closer so you'd have a little bit better sight distance? Because you're up higher than a normal car would be.
It's a good idea.
I think so.
I think that's definitely something in the final site design. In all final site designs at any intersection, we always field check the location of the trees relative to intersections, just so you know. I think we've talked about that, but maybe a little.
I assume so, but that's what I think about while I'm sitting here.
It will definitely do it in this case.
Good comment.
Yep.
Any other questions for staff or the applicant? For my thoughts, I think it's a really great site design, and I think it's a really good building design as well. First class. Good job, guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Does anybody want to know what the timeline is for construction?
Right away, right?
Well,
ASAP?
the goal is to break ground November 2nd week of November, I want to start putting footers in.
ASAP.
Yeah.
That is ASAP.
When's the anticipated project completion?
My thought, we're almost on the same time frame as Station 303, which we broke ground. That ended up being a harsh winter too. On Halloween, believe it or not, no superstition. Seems to be the theme for the day. But the station was near complete on August 28th. We officially opened it up on September 28th. So it was that keys were turned over and we started getting all the equipment and everything in there. So hopefully a year from now, we'll be sitting here very pleased to have a fire station that's been in operation for a couple days at this point in time. But it's about a year of build time with everything.
We got a lot of site work here, utilities across Cheshire. We got an open cutter board, sewer and water. That was the goal too, is try to get moving so we could just start getting the earth moved, and intention of getting that earth moved down into where we're at, building pad built back up and start in.
All right. Any other questions? No? I assume there's no one in the public here tonight to speak on this. So with that said, what is the wish of the commission this evening?
I'll go ahead and start a motion for approval on 2017-2359 rezoning amendment.
Motion by Mr. Propp.
Second.
Second by Mr. Badger.
Mr. Badger?
Yes.
Mr. Halter?
Yes.
Mr. Prohl?
Yes.
Mr. Volnick?
Yes.
Councilman Hellinger?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Mansoros?
Yes.
Chairman Simpson?
Yes.
I'll make a motion for approval on 2017-2360 conditional use request.
Motion by Mr. Propp.
Second?
Second by Mr. Badger.
Mr. Badger?
Yes.
Mr. Halter?
Yes.
Mr. Prohl?
Yes.
Mr. Volnick?
Yes.
Councilman Hellinger?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Mansoros?
Yes.
Chairman Simpson?
Yes.
And I'll make a motion on 2017-2361 for approval, the combined preliminary and final development plan with all staff recommendations.
Motion by Mr. Prohl,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Badger.
Mr. Badger?
Yes.
Mr. Halter?
Yes.
Mr. Prohl?
Yes.
Mr. Volinick?
Yes.
Councilman Hellinger?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Manzaros?
Yes.
Chairman Simpson?
Yes. All
Thank
right.
you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
She went back to your original recommendation.
Make sure you change the height of that sign. It's on the record now.
Change the dimension to 6 foot 8
No.
inches.
I'm gonna have to change the spec.
All right, moving on, tonight's agenda to item number 4, the planning director's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Only thing I had to report tonight is that Lance and I attended the statewide conference for the American Planning Association. I had a very small part in helping to pull that one together this year as well, so that was good. We changed our venue down to Athens. Typically, we're in the big cities of Ohio, and we move them around kind of by quadrant. But that was a good thing. I think it was one of the highest attendance we've had in quite some time. There are 300 registrants. I'm a Miami man. I'm a Miami graduate, so I was going a little bit into enemy territory. But it was Athens is beautiful. They do a very nice job, and you want Commissioner Badger will make it. They do a very nice job in the community with the university. The conference was great. Some really interesting sessions, and we'll be trying to push some of the information out to as we can get it. Just one note: we had a fascinating keynote lunch speaker, Janet Eichelman, who's a world-renowned artist. This was the theme was kind of the confluence of art, planning, and technology throughout all the theming of all the sessions. But she does installations all over the world that are difficult to describe in words. Just Google up Janet Eichelman, and you'll see she has videos. But just listening to her life kind of story and how it ties into what we kind of do every day or try to do in our various communities was you just couldn't tear. So it's worth getting on the internet, and she has a TED Talk out there as well that is sort of a good synopsis of what we got to hear in person. So lots of emphasis on technology, emerging technologies, drone technologies in ways that relate to planning and development in cities that you might not even think of, far beyond sort of the Amazon delivering you a package thing. And also at every conference, you've heard me report this before, for probably the last 5 years at least, autonomous vehicles have had quite a discussion. I personally think they're going to change a lot in our built environment and a lot of our daily existence. I personally think, for the most part, good. It's going to provide a lot of mobility at both ends of the age spectrum that you just don't have today. But there are lots of ways it's going to change things that nobody knows yet. So that'll be interesting, but it was definitely a theme throughout many kinds of sessions that you wouldn't otherwise necessarily think that would be part of the theme. And certainly parking comes to mind. We just completed a parking plan, and autonomous vehicles are going to have a little something to say about that as well as we move into that. I think it's going to be here a lot faster than most people realize. It actually already is here, not in Ohio, but as is here in the world and in the United States already, going more and more. So those were interesting themes. Lance, did you? Oh, we went to a very interesting session on medical marijuana as well, as it relates to land use, and Ohio, which has
done in that part of Ohio.
It wasn't a mobile workshop, but it was interesting. And one of the principals over in Johnstown, very close to us, obviously, John, you probably know Johnstown's embraced that as a sort of their economic development platform almost. It was just fascinating to hear the process that they went through to get to that point and wade through the incredible amount of rules, some of which aren't even written yet. With respect to that, we're obviously having discussions, mostly at the council level, about that right now as well. So that was fascinating. Did you
I think you hit most of the highlights.
You have anything to report from there as well?
Just echo your thoughts.
I did have a chance to talk to a number of consultants, some of whom I know about our pending hopefully comprehensive plan. And they were all excited about the opportunity to respond to a request for proposal qualifications. So I think that's a very good sign. They are all very busy, I will tell you. But our community is definitely on their radar scope. So I think that's it.
But you haven't put out an RFP?
Getting ready to.
Okay.
Getting ready to. I hope to contract it before the end of the year. We'll see how it goes. But that would be my hope, and to be perhaps a little bit different than what we haven't done a comp plan in quite some time. Really work with the consultant to use their expertise to help us refine the scope and not be too regimented in that. That's a good part of what we're paying for out of them. So I'm excited about it. There's some really, really good firms doing some really, really interesting and good things around Ohio, Central Ohio, and around the nation that will really be useful to our community.
All right. Commission member comments and discussion. We'll start over here with our new proud parent.
No comments for me. Just thank you to everybody for patience and grace and the congratulations. Our second daughter was born July 20th, so right after the July 19th meeting. So just thanks. Everybody's healthy, and we're back into it. Two kids, two daughters under 2. So we got our working out for us. Yeah, I'm praying that my wife wants to stop, but we'll see.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, right.
I felt your pain.
The only thing I have, Dave, is as I continue to go out and knock on doors and talk to people, South Sandusky just continues to come back up about what a poor entrance that is, into our city. And I know there's really not much we can do outside of just ongoing code enforcement, but
we have actually been doing that and making some other a little bit more forceful moves in conjunction with the underground tank folks at the state, which comes out of fire marshal ultimately. So we continue to work on that in a lot of ways that we can go into later in detail if you like, but I think we're making some progress on that, but it's like any blighted property. It's going to take a little bit of time. But I'm pleased with the direction of my code enforcement, particularly Dwight Wells, a part-time code enforcement officer, is really taking that project under his wing.
yeah, I mean, when we got rid of Leroy's, Leroy's place.
Yep.
We were so glad, and it was so nice to get rid of that ice cream.
Yep.
Yeah, we just hopefully keep that momentum going.
Yep.
There's about a couple other ones down there that
Yep.
we'd love to see go away.
Yeah, there's definitely some addition by subtraction that could be done.
Some opportunity down in that area.
Yep. Create some redevelopment opportunities.
There you go. Yeah, that's all I got.
Jeff?
I guess the only thing I have is, first off, I want to thank the city for going with their codes on the fire station and going beyond their codes. I think it's always good when we do that. Too many times before have I seen that we've had, well, we want to let this one go, we want to let that one go. So it was good to see the city step up and tell developers, look, folks, we're going to follow our code and you are too. I'm going to follow George saying that, we need to find a way of strengthening our code to keep these blighted areas so we don't have to go through a process. I mean, it just seems like so long we try to work with it, but you just have to admit sometimes it's just not gonna work. So, you know, come down on them like 10 miles of bad road. Fix it, get out, as we are. That's it for me.
George?
Nothing tonight?
The couple of quick things, the roundabout off of Cheshire is now open. 115 days, I believe, was the closing timeframe. Does look very good. Matt and I already talked about the, the trees and the planting that they put on the roundabout. The interesting part is there is no landscaping on the roundabout in front of the 304. So there wouldn't be any, potential there, and that's a double roundabout. But
There isn't yet.
there isn't yet. Yeah.
Yeah, there's still, and that's a bigger roundabout.
Yeah,
too,
that's a double.
Where Matt and I know Matt shares this, I think engineers don't care about landscaping. He does, and how things look. And he was very helpful in the new Cheshire roundabout for us to get to the developer to a point where maybe we could have something more than just dig grass or dying grass in the middle of our roundabouts. And that one fits the theming of the whole community of Glen Ross as well.
Yeah, the stonework, if you haven't been down there, they did a lot of stonework and as well as plantings, but I'm always the stone person type of thing, and the stonework is, very nice, a very, very nice little feature.
Yeah.
Came
out nice.
The other question is, coming up Pollock, Terra Alta area, is there any development plans or final development plans in that area? And what's going on in the...
Beyond Terra Alta and Stockdale?
Yeah.
As of now, I think I told you the same developer, owns Stockdale, Terra Alta, but they've also purchased the Rogers piece, the piece between those two. And I view that as a good thing. They're really looking to master plan the whole area, not start over again. Obviously, we're in year 15 of the development plans and finally moving dirt on Terra Alta. You've been up there, a significant amount of dirt being moved. So the first pieces of infrastructure there are going in, but I think you will see probably some amendments and changes. Certainly the Rogers piece will come forward at a point in time. You've heard me say that the Terra Alta piece, to me, could easily be a Parade of Homes site.
Sure.
I certainly think in looking more even at the Rogers piece, that could absolutely be a Parade of Homes site with some estate homes and just in some stream corridors and lots of trees. It's just a beautiful, beautiful piece of property. And what makes it beautiful is what makes it a little difficult to develop. So, but I think the development team, private sector, is kind of looking at it that way as well, trying to connect those, what could have otherwise been somewhat disjointed neighborhoods into a broader theme. So I'm excited about this. But yeah, at least Terra Alta is moving dirt.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. But that's pretty much the unspoken ground up in that Pollock Road corridor.
Okay.
There's a few other pieces in there.
Preservation Parks.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say
It's good point. Yeah, they're moving. That's not in the city, just to north of Terra Alta, but they're moving on a new park on that site. And I think they've unveiled or are getting ready to unveil the final plans for that park as well.
Next Wednesday is the board meeting.
Yeah, I think you probably can find some stuff on their website, but we've gotten to look a little bit at some of the draft plans, and it'll be nice. Might not be technically in the city, but it's adjacent to it, and our citizens and all of us will have a nice resource to use there. So that's exciting.
Nice to see the sidewalk on West Central between Lexington and Ace done, almost. Probably got a rail or something, but seen people use it quite a bit already.
They did.
Nice improvement at London and Curtis on the reconfiguration of the lanes, and let's see a lane back. That's all I have.
I don't have much this evening. Just an observation. I haven't seen the windmill moving a lot. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
Man, I shouldn't have mentioned it.
I've been keeping an eye on it.
All right.
That's all I have now. Our next regular meeting, November 1st, 2017. Anybody have any conflicts with that on your calendar? Try to get over your Halloween hangovers and come back and join us. Can't, that's probably.
It's gonna be a tough one.
Yeah.
Right, right,
Tough
can't.
one. All right, and with that said, our meeting is adjourned.